video started, I just want to kind of pop in and introduce myself in Semicircles. So my name's Isa Lazarga, and this is our Women in STEAM profile video project that's going to become a series on our website. So Semicircles is a group of young women leaders in the Omaha community, and our mission is basically to identify problems in our community, inspire change, and put our ideas into action. One of the more prevalent issues we kind of saw, especially since we're all in rigorous academic programs, is the lack of female representation in fields of STEAM, so science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. And since these fields earn a lot of money, garner a lot of respect and authority, we thought it was important to highlight some of the most famous women in STEAM, and we also kind of wanted to throw in a fun activity and experiment at the end of the educational part. And so today I'm going to be focusing on Amelia Earhart, and our area of STEAM is going to be technology because it relates to her in the field of aviation. So let's get started. This is Amelia Earhart, and I'm guessing most of you guys probably know who she is, but she was one of the pioneers for women in aviation. And she was a really important figure in the early 20th century and in the mid-20th century. And the focus area of STEAM for today is technology, because she worked a lot with the technology of an airplane and all of the aviation variables that go into flying. So that relates to technology in a really integral way. All right, so here are some quotes I pulled from the internet that I thought were really inspiring and just really kind of captured the essence of Amelia Earhart. So we have adventure is worthwhile in itself, and women must try to do things as men have tried. When they fail, their failure must be but a challenge to others. So I really like this idea of kind of picking each other up and saying, you know what, we tried, and that's all that mattered. We tried. And although we failed, this is just further incentive for other people like us to be better and to really just trailblaze a way for women in this field. So I thought that was a really cool quote. All right, so Amelia's greatest accomplishment was actually her transatlantic journey. And so this was in 1932, and she was the first woman aviator to fly solo across the Atlantic Ocean. This was a really big deal. Only men had done it before, obviously. And when she came back, she was kind of deemed as a hero for female aviators. All right, so prior to her Atlantic crossing, she was born July 24th, 1897 in Atchison, Kansas, and her family consisted of her dad, Edwin, her mom, Amy, whose real name was Amelia, and her younger sister, Grace. So there's a little picture of her when she was little. She was really cute with her little bow, and her first experience flying actually was in 1920. And so her and her father visited an airfield where Frank Hawkins gave her a ride. And he was going to grow up to be a famous air racer, actually. But that was her first ride in an airplane, and this was what she was quoted as saying, "By the time I had got 200 or 300 feet off the ground, I knew I had to fly." So after this experience, she actually worked numerous jobs trying to save money for flying lessons. She ended up saving $1,000, and that's exactly how she learned to fly, by using that money and learning kind of the basics of flying in aviation school. All right, so when she came back from the Atlantic crossing, she was kind of a national celebrity. And this kind of manifested itself into other opportunities for her. Like, this is a picture of her when she was a columnist for Cosmopolitan magazine. So she kind of talked about being a woman in a male-dominated field. And obviously, Cosmopolitan is still a popular magazine today. So that was a really influential point of her life. She was also best friends with Eleanor Roosevelt, and she was seen around many political leaders such as President Hoover over here. And yeah, so she was just kind of welcomed back. She became this symbol for feminism. And that was just a really important time for her when she was going around speaking to different colleges about what it meant to be a female aviator, and it inspired a lot of people to do the same. But of course, she was always hungry for adventure, so she decided that her next expedition would be a global flight around the world. Now, people had done this before, but the route that she was going to take was very equatorial, so right in the middle of this map right here near the equator. So it was actually going to take 29,000 miles, and this was farther than anyone had gone before. And this was actually her plane. The model was the Lockheed Electrica 10E, and it was a smaller passenger plane, and it was supposed to be more efficient for flying longer distances. And her co-passenger, kind of co-pilot, but mostly navigator, was Fred Noonan. So they took off from Miami, Florida. This was in 1937. So they took off from Miami, Florida, made multiple stops in South America, Africa, Asia, before finally landing in Papua New Guinea. And then after this, they were supposed to go to Howland's Island and then to Honolulu, Hawaii. And then that was supposed to be the end of their trip. And she was going to come back to America and celebrate her accomplishment. But unfortunately, after landing in Lae, Papua New Guinea, and setting off for Howland's Island, she never was found. And there was some radio communication about how they were running low on fuel and that they didn't know what they were going to do. But other than that, there really are no other clues. Many scientists have theories that Fred Noonan and Earhart, they just never found Howland's Island and ran out of fuel and just eventually crashed in the ocean. Some people think that she turned around and went back to Papua New Guinea trying to find it, and she never found it, so she got lost in the ocean. And there are a lot of other theories about her, but it was a great loss for the entire country, and it was really sad, especially since so many people wanted to see her succeed and be the first woman to complete that global route around the world. She, of course, though, did leave a lasting legacy behind her after her death. All right, so her legacy. Like I said, she became a feminist symbol for many, and she encouraged a lot of women to kind of take up aviation and break into professions that were formerly dominated by males. And so here's a picture of the Women Air Force Service pilots, and the abbreviated organization is WASP. But she founded them, and so this was the first time women were serving in the Air Force, so that was really important. And also, it was the first time you were seeing women being interested in flying commercial planes as well. So, really important things. And she was just known as a daredevil, a tomboy, but most importantly, an inspiration for men and women alike to go and chase your dreams and be an adventurous person and just put it all out there. And I think it takes a lot of bravery to do that. All right, so kind of relating this to our STEAM field of technology, these are some professions and areas of study that are related to kind of what she did, but also just technology in general. Technology can span beyond a computer and the internet. It can be something that you do with your hands. So industrial technology, electricity, plumbing, anything like that. That is technology, and it has to do with higher forms of intricacies of building and assembling. So, this diagram over here, how to become a U.S. Air Force pilot, is kind of the steps you need to take in order to work in the Air Force, or there are ones for being a commercial pilot as well. It doesn't have to be Air Force or military. Over here, beyond aviation, well, some are related to aviation, we have like professions like an underwater welder, where basically you weld things that are underwater, kind of like pipelines or sewer pipes, and it actually looks really cool. I think it takes a lot of skill and training to do it, but it looks amazing. Aerospace scientist and engineer, this means like designing the heat shields for NASA, spaceship introductions, stuff like that. Computer design, software developer, mechanic, mobile application developer, and social media manager. So you don't have to be completely techie to have a job or an interest in the field of technology. Like social media manager, that means that you are working with technology, but you're more on the social side of things and you're seeing how technology affects social relations. So I just thought these were kind of cool, and now I don't want to waste too much of our time because we're going to move on to the experiment now. Thinking what could be a cool kind of activity experiment type thing that you could do at your house, because right now obviously some people are under extenuating circumstances and don't have access to some materials. So anyway, I decided that we're gonna make a cardboard airplane, not a paper airplane, because I thought cardboard would maybe be airborne longer and there would be less air drag. So this is mine. I definitely messed up. Please feel free to stray from the directions. This was just kind of me messing around. So kind of put your own spin and put your creativity in it, and let's see how far we can get it to fly. The materials for our cardboard plane are cardboard, and I got mine from shoeboxes, some scissors, tape, or glue, and also decorating materials, which are optional, of course. First, I cut the boxes into manageable squares. Then I picked a rectangle piece and decided to craft my wings out of it. They were a bit pointy at first, so I decided to soften the corners a little bit, and then I used that cutout to make the other wing. On the other rectangle piece of cardboard, I sketched out the body of the plane. How it looked with the body and the wings, and I decided I wanted to add some tail fins as well. And for the tail fins, I just cut trapezoids out of pieces of cardboard. So my plane was looking a little flat, so I decided to make supports for the wings. I used smaller pieces of cardboard and traced a line where they would go on the wing and on the body of the plane. I then cut slits on the lines, and I would recommend using an X-Acto knife or a pair of scissors, but please be careful. Then you just push the supports through the body and the wing, and it stands up like that. I also decided I wanted a tail fin on the bottom of my plane, so I just followed the same procedure as I did with the supports for the wings. To attach the tail fins, I just marked where I want them to go on the body, and then I cut slits on the body and on the actual tail fin, and they just fit together like that. Made a sort of cockpit using extra pieces of cardboard and the slit method like I used before. And this is what the bare bones of the plane looked like then. The wings and supports were a little flimsy, so I decided to reinforce them with some hot glue. Regular glue or tape would work well too. For some color, I decided to use scrapbook paper to cover the wings. I used gold Sharpie to accent the plane, and I also put some tape over the cockpit. And every plane needs a name, so I decided to name it the Earhart, in honor of Amelia Earhart. This is my finished product. Unfortunately, the plane didn't fly as well as I had hoped. I feel like there was too much air drag with all of the stuff on it, and hopefully you guys can learn from my mistakes. Alright, so that's the end of the video. I hope you guys learned something, and keep an eye out for other Women in STEAM profiles on our website. Stay safe and have a good one.